to Gentle Yoga at Noon. I'm Jeani. We're in the ACC community room. We have some background construction going on. So we've got some audio irregularities you might notice. Hopefully, with everything that's going on today, another lesson for today's practice will be focusing on inwards and probably not so much on the outside. So we'll go ahead and start at the back of the mat. Today's class, we're working on hip openers. I suggest having a strap for some of the shoulder openings that we'll be also doing, and some blocks, especially if you need help meeting the distance to the floor. Having the blocks in hand is always an option. You can place them strategically at places that you know we may use them. You can also use a chair, strategically placed level of support somewhere along the line. And again, you can always start with the blocks as well and just modify from there. I'm going to go ahead and just place these onto the side if you just happen to have them, you know, at the start. Usually I have them at the beginning, at the top of the mat. And we're going to start at the back of the mat and begin our arrival. Hopefully you'll hear some music. And as we're arriving, whatever brought you to class may still be out there waiting for you, but we can focus on what's going on inside here. Notice how the mat feels under the feet. And in our base position of mountain here, you are actively and slightly engaging the core, feeling how the legs may benefit from a slight bend perhaps, or lengthening, stacking the ankle under the knee, under the hip, under the shoulders, under the earlobe eventually. So every time we return to our mountain, maybe a little longer, a little stronger. As we arrive, just focusing inward, your heart rate may begin to slow. And we'll focus on developing our breath cycles. Let's go ahead and bring our left palm to rest on our chest, right palm under the belly, feeling the mat under the feet. We'll go ahead and start to breathe with a little more focus. Inhaling, imagine drawing energy from the feet, up the legs, up the back, through to the crown of the head. At the top of your inhale, briefly pause and start to exhale with a little bit of control. Slowly let the air out and feel the belly engage at the bottom of the exhale. Another brief pause before we start the next breath cycle. You may even feel the hands moving with each inhale and each exhale. Go ahead and finish cultivating the breath with the sound of the ocean by opening the back of the throat, like you're fogging a mirror. On both the inhales and the exhales, see if you can make that sound, a vibration at the top of the throat. And then let's release our hands to the side. Go ahead and just shift the weight a little bit from foot to foot. Release the grip on the mat. Give yourself a bend at the knees. And we'll start to inhale once more. And as that energy is lifting, lengthen through the legs, through the back, through the crown of the head. Exhale, feel that energy returning through the body, reverse direction back to the mat, and engage the belly, pressing into the legs. We'll go ahead and inhale, start to feel that center of gravity rolling towards the toes. At the end of that breath, hopefully you're at the edge of the tipping point. And then slowly with the next breath, roll the weight at the soles of the feet towards the ankles, the heels. Almost like you're about to tip backwards. Hopefully exhaled fully here. And give yourself the next breath cycle or two to explore that heel to toe alignment. Find the change in the center of gravity. Notice it, and let's return to center, somewhere above the ankles, nearer to the heels. Drop into your mountain. Go ahead and reset it, inhaling nice and tall, feeling that energy lifting through the crown of the head. Go ahead and exhale, roll the way towards the outer right edge of your feet. Fully exhaled there. We're going to inhale to center. You can also just inhale all the way to the other side. You can give yourself a breath by breath, 2-breath movement. Inhaling to one side, exhaling to the other. You can always inhale to the center and exhale to either side, whichever works for you. And then meet back at center. Reset the mountain once more. Inhaling nice and tall. See if you can get a little longer in the legs. Feel as if a string is pulling you at the crown of the head towards the ceiling. And then with that energy still lifting upwards, we're going to start making small circles right about the ankles. Have your circles radiate outwards towards the perimeter of your feet. And then see in the next few breath cycles if you can find the edge of the feet as you're breathing in this direction. Once you do that, go ahead and tighten in the circles and return to center somewhere above the ankles, nearer to the heels. You can drop into your mountain and reset once more. Inhaling nice and tall, palms facing forward, shoulders rolled away from the ears and neck, legs gently activated downwards as we lengthen through our mountain. Inhaling upwards completely at the top of the breath. We're going to make those same circular movements in the opposite direction this time. Try to start out at the ankles, radiate outwards towards the perimeter of the feet. And once you reach that destination, you can go ahead and return to center. Give yourself a few breaths to find this and sink into your mat once more at home in mountain. I like to lift my foot completely at this point, just in case you have a tendency to grip and you want to deactivate those muscles left from the last pose. We'll go ahead, roll. If it feels good to release with any other movement, go ahead, and we'll reset our mountain once more. We're going to go ahead and lift all the way upwards and start with our walking meditation. Let's go ahead. Bring the fingers downwards like you're reaching for something. We can inhale, extend the arms out and upwards. If you can go straight up, that's great. If it's off at a tangent, that's fine too. Go ahead and reach all the way up at the top of the inhale. And we're going to exhale, start to bend the knees, stick the tailbone out slightly and fold, hinging at the hips slowly. Feel that first fold downward. We're just going to start to allow the arms to maybe relax and just unfold in our first fold. It's about a 5-breath cycle fold. Keep a deep bend to the knees if you need to. You want to feel that support from the hips all the way down to the heels. But depending on how tight your legs are, you might need to have a deep bend, a slight bend. Eventually, we're working on hopefully a 90-degree angle at the hips. But do what you can. And if you're hanging onto your head, we're going to start to release into that. And maybe your 90-degree angle can start to return to a fold, a completely surrendered fold. You might need your blocks here. You might have them rest, your hands resting there. You might have your forearms resting on the thighs. But you're still feeling that nice support, slightly engaged from the hips to the heels. Maybe you can give yourself, in those last few breath cycles, a release from the tailbone all the way down the spine, neck to the crown of the head, the gentle bobbing of the head in circular motions, maybe a slight left to right, forward and back. Let the crown of the head be a plumb line reaching towards the mat. And then now, as we're about to leave this pose, we want to engage our core. We're feeling like we're stepping into our feet, we're affirming our thighs, we're engaging the core, and really feeling that hip to heel engagement so we can support our upper back. And we're going to slowly walk the hands up if you need, bring the torso up as we're inhaling, rolling each vertebra up one at a time until the head is the last to stack. Feel that tailbone kind of tuck under as the shoulders roll back and down. And we'll go ahead and just come all the way here. I just realized I skipped through the shoulders and the top of the head. We're gonna go there because that's important to get that. I'm a little distracted, I'm sorry. So let's come back here. We're standing here in our mountain, palms facing forward. We got a nice stretch to the hips, so there we go. We're gonna go ahead and shift our weight all the way from one foot to the other. Your stance might widen. And as we do so, we're going to start shifting the shoulders from one side to the other. And as your torso moves to one side, lift up the toes of that side. We don't want to torque out the knees. And then you'll find if you relax your arms, maybe they'll just start tapping along your torso. And then we'll let that peter out and let the feet rest. And go ahead and bring the feet back in under the hip bones, back to the mountain. We'll move on up to the shoulders. All the way up, go the shoulders, maybe lengthen through those legs. If you had a flexion at the hips, if it was slightly bent at the knees, see if you can lengthen a little more. Tuck under the tailbone, bring that a little forward. See if you can bring the knees under the hips. Everything here over the ankles. We'll get to the shoulders next. Inhaling, palms facing forward. Let's go ahead and bring those shoulders up on the inhale. And then exhale fully, roll them back, and let them just slide down the back. That's one breath cycle. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a total of 4 to inhale the shoulders up, roll them back and down. You don't want to touch the earlobes with the shoulders, but you do want that uplifted feeling, lengthen the neck. Crown of the head lifting towards the ceiling. And on that very last exhale, engage the core. We're going to do another set. Inhale, shoulders go up. This time roll them forward on the exhale and then down. The triangular shoulder blades melting down the back on the exhale. See if you can engage the core and tuck in those angel wing points at the very end of the shoulder blades at the bottom of that exhale. And that's about 4 there for me, so go ahead and you can roll the shoulders, lift the feet if you need to, and we're going to leave our warm-ups with the crown of the head. Palms facing forward, lifting once more through the crown of the head. See if your mountain can be a little longer, a little more stable from the legs all the way to the shoulders. We're inhaling, crown of the head lifting. Exhale, slowly let the right earlobe drift towards the right shoulder, but go no lower than, say, about a tennis ball sized space between the earlobe and the shoulder. Feel that nice long length on the left side. Exhale, turn the gaze if you haven't already. Inhaling finds length and energy all through the body. Exhaling, hopefully, enables you to release any tightness. We're feeling both of those shoulders in line with one another, as should be the hips and the balance at the feet. By that last exhale, maybe your eyes can rest at the rightmost of your vision. And we can inhale, bring the eyes, the gaze turns, the crown of the head lifts completely at the top of the inhale, so all we have to do is exhale, left earlobe towards the left shoulder. Right neck is nice and long. Inhale, lift the sternum. Exhale, turn the gaze. Palms facing forward. Use the ocean breath to energize the body. Maybe the rib cage expands sideways even with the full chest of air. On the exhale, feel that rooting down in the body and the legs, down to the feet, through the mat even. And see if your left eyes can rest behind your shoulders. Your left shoulder. Inhaling, bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head completely back up to the top of the ceiling. Exhale, let the eyes float downward and rest on the top of the mat, somewhere about 6 feet in front of you. Nice and long neck, and that inhale hopefully still gives you that verticality, but with a slight tilt up at the crown of the head. Total of 4 breath cycles here, nice and slow, ocean-like breaths. And after your very last exhale, go ahead and inhale the eyes towards the midline, past the midline, and if you can see the ceiling somewhat above you, stop craning the neck. Keep that chest nice and open. See if you can have some opening in the throat, in the jawline. Make small movements in the mouth. Maybe a full breath in, finds the chest lifting, and a full breath out. Finds the lower jaw gently swaying from side to side. Maybe a small O to a large O. Do what feels good. And at your very last exhale, we're going to think about coming out by just rolling the eyes downward with a gentle inhale back to the midline, back to center. Go ahead and just shake out any activation in the hands, shoulders, wrists. You can lift one foot, bend the knees, bounce if you need. And now we'll go into our second round of fold. So inhaling, we're going to energize our mountain, lengthen through the legs, feel as if you've got that crown of the head string pulling upwards towards the ceiling, and your feet are actually lengthening, engaging those inner thigh muscles to lengthen, bringing all your major joints to stack on one on top of the other. We'll go ahead and reaching downwards, inhale the arms up. At the top, lift up through the torso, and then exhale. Engage the core and hinge at the hips. Stick the butt out and start to float downward for our second fold. We're gonna start off here. Leave your hands as relaxed as possible, wherever they land. See if you can release with the next 3 breath cycles any tension in the upper back, in the shoulders, even in your neck. Are you holding on to the head? That's why it's good to gently nod the head yes, no, and then let it dangle. You can also bend one knee gently, lengthen it again, and bend the other leg's knee and lengthen that. When we're ready to come out of here, you can do the slow roll up on the inhale again with your core engaged, or you can come up with a straight back. Either way, have a strong core. Pressing into the feet, inhaling, extend the arms if you need. A slow roll up or a straight back. Inhaling all the way back up. Hands at the top. If you can, bring the palms together and bring the hands down, heart center, engaging the core, fully exhaled here. We'll start our walking meditation, pressing into the palms, engaging the core. Bring standing weight to the left leg. If you can balance, you can just slightly lift your right foot. It doesn't have to be high. Exhale the foot down, ball of foot or the heel down first, and then to the toes. Fully exhaled here, standing weight, balance, lift the left foot. And our walking meditation is basically 1 full breath cycle per step. Slow as you go, and we'll meet at the top of the mat in mountain. And if you can lift the high knee, that's all a part of your practice. But you can start with just lifting the foot off of the mat. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in mountain, looking down at the fingertips. Go ahead and press into the palms, engage the core, lengthen in your mountain, watch the fingertips. At the top, separate the palms. Start to exhale into another fold, sticking the butt back. We are folding. You can walk the hands down or just do a nice slow float. If you have your blocks here, your chair, you can use that to support the hands, but we're in another fold. Fully exhaled here, we're going to inhale. Start to lengthen through the legs and the back. You might have a low half lift. You might have a nice 90-degree angle at the hips, half lift. Wherever you are, feel that strong support from the hips down to the heels, as well as the tailbone to the crown of the head. Engage your core. Bring the belly button to the spine. And then exhale fully, return towards the mat, towards your fold. Bend the knees. If you have your hand support, you can use your blocks. We're gonna bring the hands eventually to either side of the feet. Start to walk them back. Start to come into a high plank. Palms down, feet all the way to the back. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists. And go ahead and bring the the shins down. And we're into a modified high plank. You can keep a high plank if that's a part of your practice, or you can start from the modified position of just feeling that support at the shins, tops of the ankles, nice and flat. If you need to tuck the toes, that's fine too. Eventually, we want to have the bottom of the legs supported at the shins, the top of the torso supported with our hands in this splayed finger formation. Arms nice and long. Go ahead and stick your belly button to the spine, engage the core. And breathing here for about 5 breath cycles, but if you need to come out earlier, you always can. We'll go ahead and inhale, tuck the toes, lift up the hips, exhale, press into the arms, bring the hips back to down dog, towards the back of the mat. And eventually, in our first down dog, you can keep a deep bend to the knees if the back of the legs are tight. You want to look at an upside down V formation of the body if possible. You might need to think about energy from
the tailbone down the back to the hands in one energy direction. Another one is from the tailbone down the legs to the balls of the feet, or maybe even the heels, wherever your feet are on this down dog. And then if your V looks more like a U, that's okay. Just focus on eventually bringing up that third line of energy up towards the ceiling at the belly, at the apex of your upside down V or your U. Give one more deep inhale. Bend the knees if you need to deeply. We're going to roll our eyes towards the hands and walk the hands to the back of the mat. To our fold. Bend the knees if you need. Fully engaged here. Exhale. Inhale, half lift. Lengthen where you can. Exhale, fold. Come on out, another slow roll up, but engage your core. Slow inhale or strong straight back. And bring the tailbone down or up. Lift up the torso, reach it all the way up. Exhale, hands down.
Heart center. And we'll be coming into our second walking meditation. I'm a little far up here. And here, pressing into the palms, engaging the core, standing weight to the left leg. Inhale, raise the right sole of the foot. Step it down. Try to do a 2 or 3 articulation point at your foot. Fully exhaled there. We're going to inhale the left foot up. Exhale that down. Engage the core. Press into your palms if you fall out. Sometimes that helps you to regain your balance. If you fall out, that's okay. Just come on back. It's a slow walking meditation, 1 full breath cycle per step. And just notice your center at the feet, at the core. And at the top of the mat, inhaling nice and tall. Press into the palms. Watch the fingertips rise. Step out the hands at the top. Exhale, hold the hips forward and hold. Foot down. Your choice, wherever your hands land. Inhale, extend through the back, through the legs. Half lift. Exhale, bend the knees if you need, but bring the hands down to your supports or down to the mat. Either side of your feet, walk the hands back, all the way back, and then we're going to, the feet all the way back. We're going to inhale into our high plank this time. Nice and long. We're only here for about 3 breath cycles. You can come out if you need, but we're finding that length from the heels down to the balls of the feet, shoulders down to the wrists, and then we also have that energy line that's at a hypotenuse, a nice diagonal from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. Go ahead and inhale, lift the hips, press into those nice strong arms. Bring the heels down where they will. You might need to adjust the distance between the feet and the hands, maybe the feet to each other. You give yourself an upside down V eventually. Lift up to the tippy toes of your feet if you need. Exhale, bring those feet, float them down gently. They stop where they do. Don't force it. And just notice how your practice evolves. Inhale. Roll the eyes towards the hands. Exhale, bend the knees if you need deeply, and walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled here. Lengthen into a half lift. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Engage your core. Step into the feet. Firm up the legs. Come on up, your choice. Hands down, heart center, and finally down to the side. Give yourself a moment to let the blood rush back to the head. Hopefully you feel a little warmer. And then we'll go ahead and start our balance pose. Today's balance is a continuation of last time. You guys can turn around in the classroom. If you're facing that way when we're doing our walking meditation, it's a nice way to do that, but if we get to this point, you can always turn around. And what we're going to do now is we're going to revisit our mountain. Let's bring our feet underneath our hips and notice how it feels this time around. Before we started our walking meditation, you were asked to just kind of ground and focus on your first mountain position. Now that we've done a little bit of warm up in the joints, notice if an alignment has occurred, a shift that you can feel. See if you can find that little 1 foot square box between your feet. Bend your knees. We want the knees to face the same direction. If they're going outward, you might focus on how your ankles might be turning in or turning out. We want to think about internal rotation of those thigh muscles just to stack our bones, our knees over our ankles, hips over the knees. And as you gently press into all 4 points of your soles of the feet, that's the big pad under the big toe, the little pad under the pinky toe, and the left and right sides of your heels. Those 4 points, we want to make sure they're nice and evenly balanced. You might even feel the arch of your foot feeling the mat. So that in mind, you can put your hands on your hips, see if you can lengthen up through the chest and lift up the sternum. Bring those shoulders back and down, and then just relax the arms. And hopefully you feel a good stability at the legs. We're not hyperextending our knees. We want to stay here all day if we have to. Take your inhale to lift the arms. See if you can raise up through the chest, lift up through the torso. If you can touch the other wrist, go ahead and lift all the way up. Whichever hand you're holding, press that foot down as far as making sure it does not lift up. As we lift up through the hand, exhale, just like to bend the hand. You want to find that stretch right about here. We're working towards our armpit. And you want to anchor that foot. You don't want that rib cage or the hip stretching yet. Let's go ahead and inhale all the way back up, heart, hands down, heart center, and just let your arms kind of swing. Forward and back, forward and back. Notice if your base changed. Notice if you're pressing into one part of your foot more than you need to. Balance everything out. And then reset the mountain. See if your legs are a little longer, a little stronger. Inhale, both arms up. Go ahead and go for the opposite hand. Sometimes you might reach under with the hand. You might reach under, over. Just see what it feels like. But grab a hold of that hand. Keep that side leg anchored down. You balance with the other leg. We're going to lift up with the arm and then just slightly bend over. That's all. See where that leads you. If your foot started to lift up, make sure it comes back down. Inhale all the way back up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Somewhere halfway down, just let it float on. You might have one hand in front, another one in the back. We'll go ahead and lift up through your shoulders, alternate those rolls. Just do something that helps you release from that last pose. Then we'll do it again. Inhale, arms up, lengthening through the legs all the way to the fingertips. Go ahead and just bend the elbows, grab hold of either elbow, it doesn't matter. See where your hips to heels support is. Make sure that's nice and stable. Inhale all the way up. Grab a hold of the opposite elbows. Switch those elbows. One more. Engage the core on the exhale. Inhale, hands all the way up, and then let them float down, palms downward, and somewhere halfway down, just let them kind of swing around. You can start swinging them forward and back as well. We'll go ahead and shake out anything on our fingers. Lift up your feet, lift up your legs, give yourself a little bit of movement, release, and then come back to your mountain once more. And feel like it's second nature. Hopefully when you come back to your mountain, you don't have to think too hard about it at this point. Inhale, arms up. And then exhale, palms facing opposite sides, and we're just going to let them swing. And think about one hand going in front of the other and just doing something like this. Maybe the backs of your hands touch, maybe they don't, but just try to get to this point where elbows are somewhere around the chest. If you're there, then relax the forearms to the fingertips. And we're just going to take one hand and gently pull the other one. Inhale here. Feel that lift from the crown of the head and the foot stabilizing, lengthening your mountain column of the body. Exhale, gently see if you have any space to guide that elbow inward. We're not doing it too deeply. You just want to see if that created a little more space. Stretch at the back of that shoulder. Inhale. We're going to just open up cactus hands and then let the arms relax. Swing it out. If you find any tension, just roll the shoulders. We're going to do that again. If you can remember which arm that you tucked in, we're going to get the opposite one. So inhale, arms back up. Grab a hold of those elbows. Just get a nice stretch here. We're going to kind of pull these apart, pull like that so you can open up through the bottom of your armpits there. Inhale up. Exhale, opposite arms once more. And pulling gently, you might have, again, a little bit of space opening at the bottom of the shoulder blades. And then think about which hand, which elbow you tucked into. Arms come up, and we're going to float those hands palms away from us and see if you can grab that opposite elbow. I think I had this one, so I'm going to reach for this one this time. And we're going to have the back of the hands, see if they meet. If they don't, that's okay. And then we're going to relax them. We're going to take that one outside hand, and just figure it as being like a holder here. We're going to inhale, allow your lengthening of your mountain from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. Elbows at about the chest, and then exhale. See if you can gently hold on your elbow with the opposite hand. Not too much pressure at the shoulder, but hopefully, oh, maybe it was the opposite way because I think it was this shoulder I stretched last time. And you could always just go to the next one. We're going to do 2 sets of this. Let's go ahead and release to a cactus arm. And this time we're going to bring the arms under and grab the opposite elbow. Here we go. And then wherever that is, see if more of the back of the hand can touch. Still elbows at about the shoulder level, chest level. Grab a hold of that inhale to lengthen through the crown of the head. Exhale, gently hug in that elbow. And yes, it's my opposite shoulder. Hopefully feeling a little more stretch at that back point of the shoulder blade, that side in between the spine and that side of the shoulder blade. All right, we'll go ahead and release through here with cactus hands, and then we can go ahead and just release there. Go ahead and let them swing. And then one more time, cactus hands, and give your other elbow a nice swing in. I did my one elbow 3 times, but if you didn't, you should be on the one. And we'll go ahead and we'll inhale nice and long through the crown of the head. Exhale, gently guide that in. And it helps sometimes. You can, if you have that range of mobility, just even a subtle movement of that ball right there, up and down, you might just get a little bit of stretch. And then we'll go ahead and just let that come on down. Let your arms dangle, just completely relaxed. See if you're arching forward. See if you need to lift up at the sternum. And then we'll go ahead and do one more. Resetting your mountain at the feet if you need. And coming up, we're going to start swinging the arms forward and back, and then see where they meet at the back. I'm going to just turn so you get that benefit. As we're swinging back, let's go ahead and stay at the back and see if your hands can just catch fingers. Maybe you can catch your elbow, your wrist. Maybe it's a forearm. Maybe it's the elbow. Maybe it's both. Let's go ahead and release now. Give yourself another little swinging from forward to back, whichever feels good. And then we're going to grab a hold of the opposite hands that you happen to grab a hold of. If you don't remember, don't worry. It'll wash out at the end. And then this time, again, see if you can grab your hand. Maybe it's just the sacrum, but we want to get those arms behind the midline of your body. Get your opening at the upper chest. If you notice you're curving at the top, remember to bring open those shoulders and down. Roll them back and down, tuck under the tailbone. Wherever you are here, you're just feeling that nice lengthening at the top of the shoulders, at the front of your chest, and then we'll go ahead and release. Let them just dangle once more. And you can give yourself a little elbow room, play around, see how that feels now in your shoulder areas. You can use your elbow points, a circular motion, shapes to kind of release if you need to. And then we'll go ahead, let's see how we're doing on time. All right, I believe after that we are coming into a hip opener. We are moving down to the mat or the chair to go meet in butterfly. So this is your opportunity. If you like the chair, stay in the chair. You'll have cues to stay in the chair until Shavasana. If you don't mind butterfly, go ahead on the mat. Go ahead and come on down to your hands and feet, whichever is most convenient for you. But I will demonstrate if you need a chair and want to stay in the chair, I'm going to have it here. And if you are in class with a chair, you can always orient the chair so you can see in front of you because you won't need it otherwise. But you need to make sure your at least 2 of your feet are on something stable that's not going to slide if you're on linoleum. If you're on the mat, just sit on your sits bones. If you're able to get into a butterfly seated position from there, and I'll demonstrate first just sitting in a chair. You can sit with your sits bones at the edge. If you're looking at me from this point, you can see I'm pretty far here at the edge. So just making sure we're on our sits bones there. If you're down on the floor, that's the same thing. We just want to get our sits bones up. We don't want to have a curved back. If you're not able to sit with the sits bones in a crisscross applesauce position on the mat, you'd be on a block under your sits bones, lifting up and just trying to get to this point where you can sit on a block or sit on the sits bones on the mat. Just as I'm on this chair at the edge, as you can see on this edge, at the sits bones there. Now, I have to give this orientation. So once you're there, then you're going to start to walk your feet out. And if you're on the mat, you just walk it out so that, maybe a little wider than 90-degree angle of your knees. But you're just going to eventually start rolling your ankles outward and see if you can get the soles of your feet to meet. So if you're on the mat, you're sitting upwards, that's really key. As soon as your back starts to curve, you might have gone too deeply. We're doing a hip opener where we want to keep the hips upright, the spine nice and synced into our pelvic bowl. You might need to move some flesh around, but you're going to move around with slow exploration because it's a tight area in here. Give yourself some time. We're going to deal with not only tight hips, but maybe knees, maybe ankles. So as you're sitting here, your first butterfly might look more like a diamond shape in the legs, but eventually we're bringing those heels in towards the groin. So here in our chair position, just work on that. Eventually you might be able to bring it in closer, and that's all you've got to do. If we're on the chair, I'm going to come on down now. Moving off to the side, if your knees are high up, you can use blocks to help you support your legs. But again, you can see my back is curving because my knee, everything is really tight. It's very difficult to do a butterfly for me here. But I'm going to extend through my legs, sit upright, and work on eventually opening up more and bringing those heels upwards. You might have blocks once more under there, but we're lifting up with our chest. We're trying to bring a little more of the heels towards you. And eventually, your soles of the feet will meet as well. But as you're bending your knees and bringing those heels closer towards the groin, you're making sure your extension, your external rotation of these hips are opening up as well. So it takes about 3 to 5 breath cycles to get to that edge, to get comfortable and figure out what you can hold on to with ease and comfort. If you're shallow in your breath, if you're holding on to your belly, that might be a little tight. So go back out and come back in with less intensity. But once you find that sweet edge, give yourself 5 to 10 ocean-like breath cycles. You can soften the gaze, just blur your vision, look out into the distance. You can focus on a point near your nose. But wherever you are, just imagine the ocean breath guiding the energy in through the nose. Brief pause. Exhale through the nose. And you may find after the 5 to 10 breath cycles, 5 nice slow ones, or maybe 10 little faster ones, that parts of your body that are holding on to activation or tension might release with the breath out. All right, I think that's about 5 for me. So as we come on out, if you're feeling really fragile and you don't have the musculature to support your legs, use your hands to assist that internal rotation as you bring the heels, soles of the feet back onto the mat, or in the chair situation back onto the floor. We're going to lift up, lengthen through our staff position here. Make sure your sits bones are down. And you can tap out these knees once more. Now we're going to do one more seated butterfly. You have the option to go into a reclining butterfly here because we're going to meet our way into a bridge from there. But go ahead and bring in your butterfly one more time. And if you're on the chair and you want to make it nice and comfortable, just relax the back, but keep it upright. And you can lean the arms back if you need to. But what you can do here to make it a reclining butterfly, or just sit upright if you don't want to go there and you just want to develop your seated butterfly, you can bring a block to the back. Right about the midline, just kind of gauge that. You want it somewhere right above that mid-back. And another one
you're going to adjust the one for your head, you might need to keep it upright a little bit. I've got some folded things here. So you can, once more, just develop your seated butterfly, or you can take this another level back, and you can start to bring down one elbow at a time. See where you are here. Support the back, and then allow the shoulders, and then the head, the base of the skull, to be supported by that back last block. The back of the neck should be exposed, and you're just here. You might be able to deepen your butterfly, bringing your soles of your feet a little closer together. You might have more blocks here if you have more blocks near you to help support the knees if that feels better, or you might just let gravity let it open up. But wherever you are, and if you're on that chair, you're again just focusing on using the 5 to 10 breath cycles at this point to breathe once more in our second set of butterfly, whether reclining or still seated. Have a little more focus, soften the gaze, and breathe. As you come out of this breath, this pose, come out with your very last exhale, and then inhale. Start to guide the hands to bring the knees back up, or if you have enough muscle strength, engage the core. Make sure your sacrum is nice and flat, and we're just bringing the knees upwards, bringing the soles of the feet back onto the mat. Go ahead and shift over the torso to one side if you're reclining, and remove the blocks if they were supporting your back. And eventually, we're moving our way now into bridge here. Now, if you're in the chair, you can still be in a bridge position by just bringing your knees up into that 90-degree angle. Bring the feet closer to the chair. And all we're going to do is lean the torso back if you're in the chair, and start to gently windshield wipe the knees to one side. If you're in the bridge with your back supported on the floor, make sure your feet are hips distance apart in your bridge as usual. You're just letting the knees roll to one side, not moving the position of the feet, but just rolling to the right edge, one edge of the soles of the feet. And once you're there and comfortable, give yourself 5 to 10 breath cycles here. Use your ocean breath. Soften the gaze. You can have the arms extended, palms up. Hopefully you're not feeling any torquing at the knees. You might even feel one knee eventually make contact with the opposite leg. Maybe it's on the calf muscle. Maybe both knees, legs eventually fold over to one side. Maybe just hovers there out with the help of gravity. As we end, when we come back to center, and you're in your base bridge position, we want to make sure we engage our core, whether you're on the chair or on the mat. And you can use your hands to help bring the thighs, the knees back up to center. We're bringing the sacrum back to the floor, both sits bones back onto your foundation, wherever that might be, chair, seat, or mat. Knees are pointed upwards. Bring a little space to your feet if you need. If you're in the chair, keep your knees just slightly out in front of you, extend them a little bit, and then let the knees kind of knock inward. They may not reach. If you're in your bridge, just let the knees fall inward. They may eventually touch. You can pigeon toe the toes if you need. And breathe here as a counter stretch. Give yourself about 3 to 5 good deep ocean-like breaths. And we're going to bring the knees back to center, pointing up towards the ceiling if you're in your bridge. And then go ahead and extend through the legs. We're going to meet on our belly for a cobra. And if you're in the chair, I'm going to show you what that looks like. If you're not familiar with Cobra, you're essentially just coming onto your belly if you're on the floor. If you're in the chair, I'll be with you in a moment. And you just want to make sure your hip bones are nice and flat on the floor. Give yourself some time to appreciate this feeling. Sometimes, if you haven't been extended in your hips for a long time, for a while, you might be very highly tented. Give yourself some time to lower down and relax. Relax the glutes. Make sure your knees are not having undue pressure on them. You can always tuck the toes, but if you can bring the tops of the feet to rest, give yourself a little bit of time. You might have pillowed hands, shoulders, height of folded elbows, so you can just support the forehead. You might have the flat of your side, one side of the face off to the side. But wherever you are, when you first get there, go ahead and give yourself another balance as well. Inhaling, pressing into the belly, chest, and just slightly lifting the neck so you can turn the gaze to the other side. I'm going to lift up just briefly here to demonstrate if you're on the chair and you want to get that extension at the hips. What we're just looking to do is come into a staff position and lengthen your legs. Bring the hands back behind you and lengthen. Lift up the chest best that you can, and then relax best that you can. But you're just doing this, trying to get an opening to the hips. You can move the palms if you need, and then come up to seated if you're needing to rest. But here, as we're in our belly position, to come into our Cobra, we're going to start to bring the elbows close to our rib cage and bring the palms somewhere at about the shoulder length. We'll go ahead and inhale. Press into the forearm all the way to the fingertips and palms. And we're just pressing, slowly pulling the torso forward and then slightly pressing into the arm, forearm formation support to lift the gaze. Shoulders are not curved. We're just slightly lifting up the gaze. The neck should be nice and long. See if you can support through the arms, the elbows to the fingertips, everything in between, just supporting that slight lift. Notice if you have any support going on in the hips. Are you able to extend through those legs? Give yourself a cobra tail. Are the inner thigh muscles firing so that you can bring the inner thighs, inner calf, even maybe the inner arches to touch? We're just looking at that, and then exhale, relax. Bring the gaze to the opposite. Let the arms extend downward and relax if you're in the chair in an easy seated position. If you have your face on one side, you're going to press into your chest, belly, pubic area to lift the gaze slightly and turn to the other to balance it out. Then give yourself another support once more at the chest. Turn the gaze towards the mat, nose and chin hovering right there. We're going to bring those arms maybe out to the side a little bit and bring the palms to the mat. Separate the legs if you'd like, or keep your cobra tail with your thighs inner rotation if you're working on that. But you can also just keep the feet right under the hips distance line. Just keep them straight out back behind you. With the next inhale, just lengthen through the legs. If you're on the chair, you're just lengthening through your limbs. Make yourself a nice star. And then exhale, relax. Just relax that engagement of all those muscles. Give yourself that same orientation of the face on the towards the mat. Nice long alignment from tailbone, spine, all the way to the crown of the head. We're going to lengthen once more with the inhale. Lengthen through the arms, through the feet. Point your toes, engage your glutes, your quads. And then see if you can slightly lift up the toes without bending your knees. Can you just slightly extend through your feet like you're lengthening and then lift the entire leg? You might not. You might just have your intention. That's okay. And then exhale. Release the feet back towards the mat if they lifted. Release your activated muscles. Turn the gaze to the opposite side.
And let's see how we're doing on time. Focus. Okay. Oh, there it is. All right. So at this point, go ahead and move into your Shavasana stage. So if you're on your belly, you can bring one arm out and use the other to kind of roll you onto your back. But we're going to move onto our back onto the mat if you're able to. If you're in a chair, just stay in the chair. And as you are reaching your Shavasana stage, whether on the mat or the chair, we just want to be nice and relaxed. You can go ahead and keep your knees and legs in a position that's comfortable for you but stable, so you can sit upright and comfortably. If you're on the mat, nice and long, extend those legs. See if you need a little bit of time to transition. If your knees are just, wow, they're feeling really tented, you might need a rolled up bolster, towel, maybe even some blocks under your knees sometimes, especially if there's a tension at the lower back as you're laying down. And you know, it just depends on how much support you need at the lower back or the knees, but you can play with that as you're moving into your Shavasana. Eventually, oh, and you might also need some support at the back of the neck with a folded blanket. But if you don't, eventually, you might just be able to lay flat on the mat and just give yourself some time to transition through. If you're not used to laying flat on the mat, you might have some joints of the body at the knee, at the hips, maybe even the shoulders and the wrists, ankles that just need a little bit of time to unwind. So give yourself any movement that helps you to do that. Maybe an overhead stretch, maybe a gentle rocking, maybe flexion and pointing of the feet. And eventually, you'll find more of your body just sinking into the mat. If you find that it's more comfortable for your legs to be just apart, pointed more towards the corners of the mat, you can do that. If you'd like to have a zipped up leg and then just let the feet kind of fall away from each other, that's fine too. Bringing the palms to face upwards can sometimes help in the shoulders. And then give yourself the time to react to today's and respond to today's practice. Let the belly be soft. If your tongue is stuck to the roof of the mouth, let it gently be cradled in the lower jaw. Soften any brow activation. And if you'd like, close your eyes or soften the gaze. As we move into Shavasana, I'll be sitting up to mind the time, but just relax. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice the air as it enters the nose, fills the chest, and as it exits the nose, letting the belly fall. You can make contact, reconnect to the body vessel once more with any movement that feels good to you. Rocking the legs, the arms, the hips, touching the parts of your body to just come back to the present moment. We'll meet up in an upright seated position that feels comfortable to you. You can always come off of the mat with rolling to one side, fetal position. Use one of your arms as a kickstand arm to help you raise your torso back up. And then sit on an even seated sits bone position of either hero or a crisscross applesauce or even staff where your legs are out in front of you. Whatever's comfortable for you. We'll end our class with a breathing exercise. And this is one of many that I think are just really nice to have to open up the shoulders and the chest. So you can use your strap if you'd like. I'm going to turn to the side. All we're going to do are basically an opening with the chest, sort of like a cat and cow while we're in our seated position. So you can get a nice opening here. Just have the assistance of the strap if you have an issue meeting the side here. How can show you? I should probably come around one more rotation, and then you can see. So if you have the strap next to you, you can work along the side of the strap. Some of us, if we can get our one arm back behind our sacrum and the other one above the shoulder, we're happy there. If you're there, just work there. We're eventually moving our elbows into this verticality, and you may need this strap to help you get to that point. But our first position here is just to get the opening of the hands behind, somewhere on the back. As we inhale in our seated position, feel like your sits bones are nice and evenly seated. If you're in a position like this where your shoelace or in between the heels, you can do that, but you want to make sure you have an even distribution. If you're in a hero, you want to be directly on the heels. But either way, we want to be able to sink the spine into the pelvic bowl and sit up nice and tall. Inhaling the arms up, one goes up, the other one goes behind, and see if you can bend your elbows to bring your hands somewhere behind you. If you can reach to the middle of the back, reach the other one upwards, maybe you can get a hold of your fingertips. Wherever you are here, you're just working towards it, but lift up with the inhale. Feel that space between the elbows. One lowering, one above, and see if you can reach. Wherever you are from that point, hold on to it, engage your core, and breathe slow ocean breaths. 3, 1. Exhale. 2, lift up. Exhale. Engage the core. 3, exhale. See if your hands can get a little closer to each other. Exhale, engage the core. Then we'll release the hands. You can do a slow movement like this. Bring that upper hand down. And I'm going to just turn around once more. We're going to grab a hold of the opposite hands. Sitting up once more, nice and tall. Get your nice breath from your tailbone all the way to the crown of the head, lifting up. The opposite hand goes up, the opposite back hand goes back. Exhale, let the elbows fold where they are. One side is going to be much tighter than the other. Your elbows may be askew way out here. We're working towards bringing them closer to a verticality. See where you are. See if that strap helps you to stay aligned. Once you find that spot where you can be comfortably holding on to it, breathe. 3 breath cycles here. Inhaling. Lift up with the chest, feel it expand upwards and outwards. Exhale, engage the core. Feel nice and long, press out the belly, press out the air. Engage that belly button to the spine. Fully exhaled here. Inhale. Exhale. See if those micro adjustments at the hands help to bring that together, closer together. After the very last breath, we'll go ahead and release. Release any hold, bring the upper hand down, bring the hand at the bottom, back in front of you, and let the shoulders relax. Gently bow the head. Lower the gaze, let the crown of the head tilt, space to the back, space under the chin, and breathe. And then turning once more, bringing hands to heart center. Thank you for coming to class. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.